Sometime last year, myself and three other artists were invited to participate in an artist residency organized by the Eva Kahan Foundation, um, that's based in Budapest. We were invited to come there for a full month, live in a beautiful villa that was set in a hilltop in a Tuscan village. We're given access to a studio space inside a greenhouse overlooking the nearby valleys. Um, we got to do a lot of traveling in the region, soaked in a lot of medieval art, so gorgeous churches, did a lot of cooking together. Um, and at the same time, hearing news about sort of a potential, maybe upcoming lockdown up in the north in the Lombardia region, all that seemed like sort of insignificant white noise. Um, and in a sense, working in a studio that was overlooking such beautiful landscapes and everything just looked so beautiful and smelled so good, and kind of felt wrong to try to bottle the moment or depict it. I'm sort of realizing in retrospect that it permeated to sort of deeper levels perhaps and helped liberate something in my technique. It was a different flow that I still can't really put my finger on, but it was definitely afforded by a sort of jolt to my daily practice. Yeah, so I came back to New York in the first week of March. Um, the city felt off. I made one last excursion to a museum show. I went up to the JP Morgan Library, and within a few days, my original studio space had decided to lock down in accordance with the city guidelines. I'd almost instinctively sort of, it was almost like a reflex, knowing that I couldn't really survive whatever was going to happen without studio access or a continuation of the practice or that sort of special moment that kind of started in Italy in the residency. I had reached out to my friend Jean-Baptiste Bernadette, who I knew was out of town and was probably destined to stay there for the duration of this crisis. He very generously afforded me access to his beautiful studio space and told me, you can work there as much as you want. I might get a package or two, just make sure you accept them. Just be there for me. Um, and so I've been here for about 73 days now. Um, I only took the two most recent works from my old studio when I had moved here. I wanted to, in a sense, start afresh. And in the past 2.5 months here, I've been continuing this series that started in Italy, made it across the ocean, and was continued in just the oddest of circumstances. Well, funny that you mentioned that because I feel like I've always fantasized or at least romanticized the concept of uninterrupted studio time. Just having a space to myself where no one knocks on the door, there's nothing to attend that same evening, there's no pressure, nothing external that sort of comes bearing down on you. And I got my wish. I've been working here full days, nonstop for about 70 something days, and I'm starting to run out of space here. I think we've been faring pretty well. I don't know if the city is planning on handing out participation trophies for everyone for having survived this, but I think we definitely deserve an award. Well, for years I've been bringing sand from my hometown in Israel and from the West Bank, and I mix them into the gesso, that black and white gesture that is at the core of each one of my paintings. The rest of the composition essentially explodes out of that moment, that binary mode of light versus darkness. I'm not really sure that I can speak to the future or even present or past of borders. What interests me more is sort of embedding a sense of the natural world onto the surface and abstracting that moment, taking perhaps the role of the observer. Well, I hardly use any brushes in my practice. It's mainly just my fingers and oil sticks and oil pastels and some oil bars. All of that sort of allows me to keep a tactile connection and relationship to the surface. It's almost like sculpting in a sense. Well, thanks for asking. She's doing much better. She had minor paw surgery. She's back to her old goofy self now, though. You can follow her on Instagram. It's Kasha underscore Varnishke. Follow her. I'm not sure I miss traveling all that much. I do miss seeing my family. It's funny how living in New York has almost been reduced to almost like a suburban life in a sense. I miss my family. I feel like this whole moment has prompted a need in me to look to the past rather than to the present or the future. I've been going through the books and albums that I have at home, whether it be Chagall or Soutine, which I had the great fortune of working in the Jewish Museum while the Flesh show was up at that time, so I got to see that multiple times. That's something that I constantly go back to, those very special sort of expressionist moments that I would constantly be drawn to as I would tour the galleries day after day while I was working there. Well, funnily enough, nostalgia for New York City has played a major role in my life ever since the lockdown started. I miss the city. It's out there, but it's not really out there in its induced coma. I feel like Radio Days by Woody Allen has been pretty much the biggest comforting sort of escape in this moment.
Ai, 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 e o que traz no seu tabuleiro? Vende pra ioiô, vende pra iaiá, em South American Way.